In those far-off days, beside the majestic and life-giving Nile River, a tender scene unfolded under the soft glow of dawn. The river, a ribbon of silver under the emerging light, flowed with a serene and constant grace. Its waters, calm and reflective, mirrored the pale hues of the morning sky. Here, nestled amongst the tall, verdant reeds that lined the river banks, lay a tiny woven basket. Within this humble cradle, a precious baby boy, Moses, rested in a peaceful slumber. The basket, carefully crafted by his mother's loving hands, was sealed with pitch and tar, a tiny ark designed to protect its precious cargo from the gentle lapping waves. The air was filled with the soft, murmuring sounds of the awakening world. Birds, with their sweet and melodious calls, sang their morning greetings from the branches of nearby trees. The gentle rustle of the reeds, swaying softly in the morning breeze, created a natural lullaby. The distant hum of insects, a subtle symphony of nature, added to the tranquil atmosphere. All around, a sense of quiet courage permeated the scene, as his mother, hidden from view, watched with a heart full of both apprehension and unwavering hope. Her gaze, though unseen, was a powerful shield, a silent prayer for her beloved child. She watched as the basket drifted slowly, carried by the river's gentle current, her spirit entwined with its journey. The sun began to climb higher, casting a warm, golden light upon the water, making it shimmer and sparkle like 1,000 tiny diamonds. This was a moment suspended in time, a testament to a mother's enduring love and a quiet trust in the unfolding of destiny. The world was still, holding its breath, as this tiny life embarked upon its extraordinary path, cradled by the river and watched over by a love that transcended fear. As the morning sun climbed higher, painting the sky with hues of soft gold and rose, a new chapter began to unfold along the shimmering river banks. It was a day like any other, yet destined to be extraordinary. Pharaoh's daughter, accompanied by her maidens, came to the river to bathe, a ritual of refreshing peace in the warmth of the Egyptian day. The water, cool and inviting, offered a gentle respite from the growing heat. As she walked along the bank, her eyes, perhaps drawn by a subtle glint of light or a gentle movement in the reeds, noticed the small, unusual basket. A quiet curiosity stirred within her. With a graceful gesture, she sent one of her maidens to retrieve it. The maiden, moving with gentle steps, carefully brought the basket to her mistress. As Pharaoh's daughter opened the lid, a tiny cry, soft and vulnerable, emerged from within. There, nestled amongst the soft cloths, was the most beautiful baby boy, his innocent eyes wide with a gentle wonder. A wave of tenderness, pure and profound, washed over her heart. She knew instantly that this was one of the Hebrew children, a child whose life was meant to be taken. Yet here he was, a beacon of fragile hope. Her heart, touched by divine compassion, felt an immediate connection to this tiny, helpless being. The warm sunlight, now fully embracing the scene, seemed to bless this moment of discovery. The river, which had carried him safely, continued its peaceful flow, a silent witness to this act of unexpected grace. In that quiet instant, a life was not only saved but embraced, destined for a path far grander than anyone could have imagined. The princess, with a gentle smile, decided to adopt him as her own, naming him Moses, meaning drawn out of the water. This tender act of kindness, born of a compassionate heart, set in motion a series of events that would forever change the course of history, all beginning with a peaceful morning by the river and the soft, shimmering light of a new day. The world seemed to hold its breath, sensing the profound significance of this quiet, tender encounter. The gentle breeze whispered secrets through the palm trees, and the river flowed on, carrying with it the promise of a future yet to be revealed. This was a moment of pure, unadulterated grace, a testament to the power of compassion to alter destinies. The baby, now safe in the arms of his new protector, seemed to sigh contentedly, as if he too understood the profound peace that had just entered his young life. And so, the story of Moses, a tale of quiet strength and divine guidance, began its gentle unfolding. And so, the tiny Moses, once cradled by the humble reeds of the Nile, found himself embraced by the opulent grandeur of the Egyptian palaces. His early years unfolded within walls adorned with intricate carvings and vibrant frescoes, under ceilings that soared to impressive heights, reflecting the power and majesty of the pharaohs. Imagine the soft glow of torchlight illuminating vast halls, casting dancing shadows that played across ancient hieroglyphs, telling stories of gods and kings. He would have walked through quiet, manicured gardens, where exotic flowers bloomed in riotous colors, and the air was heavy with the sweet scent of jasmine and lotus. Fountains murmured softly, their gentle splashes creating a soothing backdrop to his days. The sounds of the palace were a symphony of hushed activity, the distant chime of bells, the soft rustle of silk garments, the gentle footsteps of servants moving with quiet purpose. He was raised as a prince, surrounded by every luxury imaginable, fine linens, exquisite foods, and the best tutors in the land were all at his disposal. He learned the wisdom of the Egyptians, their sciences, their arts, and their intricate understanding of the stars. Yet, amidst this world of privilege and comfort, a subtle contrast began to form within his young heart. While his days were filled with beauty and learning, there were always hidden questions, like faint whispers in the quiet corners of his mind. He was aware, even as a child, of a different people, a people who toiled under the harsh Egyptian sun, whose lives were far removed from the serene luxury of the palace. These unspoken questions, gentle and persistent, began to grow, like a seed planted deep within his soul, waiting for the right moment to blossom. He observed the world around him with a thoughtful spirit, noticing the subtle differences, the quiet disparities. The grand halls, though beautiful, sometimes felt vast and empty, and the soft torchlight, though warm, could not fully illuminate the deeper longings of his spirit. This period of his life was a gentle preparation, a quiet forging of character, where the seeds of compassion and a sense of justice were subtly sown, even amidst the splendor of a royal upbringing. He was learning, observing, and slowly, quietly, beginning to understand the intricate tapestry of life around him, a tapestry woven with threads of both light and shadow. The palace, with all its magnificence, was but a temporary dwelling, a place where his spirit was nurtured and prepared for a greater, more profound journey that lay ahead. Each day was a gentle lesson, each observation a quiet revelation, slowly shaping the heart of the young prince for a destiny far beyond the palace walls. He was a prince in Egypt, yet his spirit yearned for something more, something deeper, a connection to a heritage that whispered to him in the quiet moments of reflection. This was a time of quiet growth, a gentle unfolding of a soul destined for greatness, all under the watchful, silent gaze of the ancient land. As Moses matured, A quiet yearning began to draw him beyond the gilded gates of the palace and into the bustling, sun-baked streets where his own people, the Hebrews, labored. It was not a sudden, dramatic shift, but a slow, thoughtful inclination, like a river gently changing its course. He would often wander among them, not as a prince observing his subjects, but as a man seeking understanding, his heart heavy with a growing sense of empathy. He witnessed their difficult labor, the endless toil under the relentless Egyptian sun, the heavy burdens they carried, and the sweat that glistened on their brows. Yet, his observations were not met with anger or immediate conflict, but with a profound sense of compassion and quiet reflection. He saw the weariness in their eyes, the stoop in their shoulders, and the quiet dignity with which they endured their hardships. He noticed the subtle acts of kindness they shared amongst themselves, the strength in their communal spirit, and the resilience that shone through their weary faces. These quiet walks among his people were moments of deep introspection for Moses. He pondered the meaning of their suffering, the injustice of their bondage, and the silent cries of their hearts. The contrast between his own privileged life and their arduous existence became starker with each passing day, yet it fueled not resentment, but a deeper sense of connection and a burgeoning desire to alleviate their plight. He listened to their hushed conversations, observed their simple lives, and felt a growing awareness of his own identity, a profound realization that he was one of them. This was a period of quiet awakening, a gentle stirring of his conscience, where the seeds of his future leadership were watered by compassion and nurtured by a deep sense of belonging. He walked among them, a silent observer, his heart absorbing their pain and their quiet hopes. The sounds of their labor, the rhythmic thud of tools, the soft murmurs of their voices, all became a part of his inner landscape, shaping his understanding of justice and mercy. These were not moments of harshness or conflict, but of quiet contemplation, of a soul slowly aligning itself with a divine purpose. He was learning, not from scrolls or tutors, but from the lived experience of his people, a profound education in empathy and human suffering. And in these quiet walks, a leader was slowly, gently being forged, a shepherd for a people yearning for freedom, all under the vast, silent gaze of the Egyptian sky. His heart, once accustomed to the soft comforts of the palace, now beat in rhythm with the quiet struggles of his brethren, a gentle drumbeat leading him towards an unknown, yet destined path. One day, a profound moment of quiet contemplation turned into an unexpected turning point. Moses, witnessing an Egyptian taskmaster cruelly beating a Hebrew, felt a surge of protective instinct. In a moment of quiet, swift action, he intervened, and the taskmaster fell. The realization of what he had done, the gravity of his action, settled upon him with a heavy, silent weight. He looked around, and seeing no one, he quietly buried the Egyptian in the sand. This act, born of a deep-seated sense of justice and compassion for his people, marked a definitive break from his life in the palace. The secret, though hidden, weighed upon his soul, a quiet burden. The next day, when he tried to mediate a dispute between two Hebrews, one of them challenged him, asking if he intended to kill him as he had killed the Egyptian. The words struck him with the force of a silent thunderclap. His secret was out. Fear, a cold, quiet fear, began to creep into his heart. He realized that his actions were known, and that his life in Egypt, as he knew it, was no longer safe. The Pharaoh, upon hearing of the incident, sought to take his life. And so Moses, the Prince of Egypt, the compassionate observer, found himself a fugitive. He left the grandeur of the palace, the familiar sounds of the city, and the fertile lands of the Nile behind him. His journey into the silent wilderness was not a hurried flight of panic, but a deliberate, solitary retreat, a quiet turning away from a life that could no longer contain him. He walked under the vast, open sky, the sun a silent companion above him, the sand stretching endlessly before him. The bustling sounds of Egypt faded into a distant memory, replaced by the profound quiet of the desert. Here, in this vast, untamed expanse, he found a different kind of peace, a raw, elemental stillness that spoke to his soul. The distant mountains, ancient and majestic, stood as silent sentinels, their peaks touching the heavens. At night, the desert sky transformed into a breathtaking tapestry of stars, each one a tiny, shimmering beacon in the infinite darkness. The air was cool and crisp, carrying the subtle scent of dry earth and hardy desert plants. The rhythm of life here was slow, deliberate, dictated by the sun and the moon, by the quiet movements of desert creatures. Far from the complexities and intrigues of the city, Moses found a profound simplicity. He was alone, yet not truly solitary, for the vastness of the wilderness seemed to embrace him, offering solace and a space for deep introspection. This was a time of quiet healing, of shedding the layers of his past, and of preparing his spirit for the unknown path that lay ahead. The desert, with its endless horizons and its profound silence, became his sanctuary, a place where he could listen to the quiet stirrings of his own heart and the gentle whispers of a divine presence. He walked on, one step at a time, leaving behind the echoes of his former life, and moving towards a destiny that was slowly, quietly, beginning to reveal itself in the vast, silent expanse of the wilderness. The journey was long, but each step was a gentle release, a quiet surrender to the path that was unfolding before him. He was no longer a prince, but a wanderer, a seeker, guided by the silent wisdom of the desert and the quiet strength within his soul. After his long and solitary journey through the silent wilderness, Moses arrived at a place of gentle respite, a calm oasis in the land of Midian. Here, life moved with a different rhythm, a slower, more harmonious pace, far removed from the hurried clamor of Egypt. His weary feet led him to a well, a precious source of life in the arid landscape. The well was a gathering place, a hub of quiet activity where shepherds brought their flocks to drink. Imagine the gentle sounds of water being drawn from the earth, the soft gurgle as it filled troughs, and the contented bleating of sheep as they quenched their thirst. The air was warm and dry, carrying the subtle scent of dust and distant wildflowers. It was here, by the life-giving waters, that Moses encountered new companions. 7 sisters, the daughters of Jethro, the priest of Midian, came to water their father's flock. They were met with unkindness by other shepherds, who tried to drive them away. But Moses, with his quiet strength and innate sense of justice, rose to their defense. He helped them water their sheep, his actions speaking volumes of his compassionate heart. This simple act of kindness forged an immediate, gentle connection. The sisters, grateful for his help, returned home and told their father of the stranger who had come to their aid. Jethro, a wise and hospitable man, invited Moses to share a meal and to stay with them. And so Moses found a new home, a place of peace and belonging, far from the dangers he had left behind. The oasis of Midian became his sanctuary, a place where he could rest, reflect, and slowly heal. He found solace in the simple beauty of desert life, the vast, open skies at dusk, painted with hues of orange and purple, the cool, crisp air of the evenings, and the gentle rhythm of the days. He married Zipporah, one of Jethro's daughters, and together they began a new, quiet life. The sounds of the well, the gentle bleating of sheep, the soft murmurs of conversation, all contributed to a sense of profound peace. This was a time of quiet rebuilding, of finding purpose in the simple routines of shepherd life, and of allowing his spirit to be nurtured by the tranquility of his surroundings. The desert, once a place of solitary escape, now offered him a gentle embrace, a quiet haven where he could simply be. He learned the ways of the desert, its subtle wisdom, its enduring strength. He became a shepherd, guiding his flock across the rolling hills and rocky valleys, his heart slowly finding its rhythm with the quiet pulse of the earth. This was a period of gentle preparation, a time for his soul to deepen and grow, far from the clamor of the world, under the watchful, silent gaze of the endless Midian skies. Each day was a quiet lesson, each sunset a gentle reminder of the peace he had found, a peace that would sustain him for the extraordinary journey that still lay ahead. For many quiet years, Moses embraced the life of a shepherd in the vast, open expanses of Midian. His days unfolded with a gentle rhythm, dictated by the needs of his flock and the silent movements of the sun across the sky. Imagine him walking across rolling hills, where the sparse vegetation offered sustenance to his sheep, and through rocky valleys, where ancient stones stood as silent witnesses to the passage of time. The stillness of nature became his constant companion. The only sounds were the gentle bleating of his sheep, the soft whisper of the wind through the dry grasses, and the occasional call of a distant bird. He learned to read the subtle signs of the desert, to find hidden springs, to guide his flock to the best pastures, and to protect them from unseen dangers. The changing seasons brought their own gentle beauty. In spring, the desert would briefly burst into life with delicate wildflowers, painting the landscape with soft hues. In summer, the sun would reign supreme, casting long, shimmering heat waves across the land, and the nights would be cool and clear, filled with an unimaginable tapestry of stars. The calm routine of shepherd life became a profound teacher. Each sunrise brought a new day of quiet responsibility, each sunset a peaceful conclusion. He spent countless hours in solitary contemplation, his mind free to wander, to ponder the mysteries of life, and to listen to the quiet stirrings of his own heart. The vast, endless skies above him became a canvas for his thoughts, a silent testament to the immensity of creation. He watched the clouds drift by, observed the intricate patterns of the stars, and felt a deep connection to the natural world around him. This was a period of profound spiritual growth, a time when his soul was refined and prepared, not through grand pronouncements or dramatic events, but through the quiet, consistent rhythms of a simple life. The solitude of the wilderness, far from the distractions of human society, allowed him to cultivate a deep inner peace and a profound sense of trust. He was learning patience, resilience, and the quiet wisdom that comes from living in harmony with nature. The years passed gently, like the soft sands shifting in the desert wind, each one adding a layer of depth and understanding to his spirit. He was no longer the Prince of Egypt, nor the fearful fugitive, but a humble shepherd, deeply connected to the earth and to the quiet presence of the divine. This quiet, unassuming life was, in its own way, a profound preparation for the extraordinary calling that awaited him, a calling that would emerge from the very heart of the wilderness he had come to know so well. His heart, once troubled, now found a deep and abiding peace in the simple, honest work of tending his flock, under the watchful, silent gaze of the endless skies. Each day was a gentle meditation, each night a peaceful surrender to the quiet majesty of the desert. One day, as Moses led his flock to the western side of the wilderness, guiding them towards Mount Horeb, also known as the Mountain of God, a sacred moment unfolded, unlike any he had ever witnessed. The air, usually still and dry, seemed to hum with an unseen energy. His eyes, accustomed to the subtle nuances of the desert landscape, caught sight of something extraordinary. A bush, seemingly ordinary, was glowing with fire, yet, remarkably, it was not consumed. The flames danced and flickered, vibrant and alive, but the leaves and branches remained untouched, pristine and whole. A profound sense of awe and wonder began to settle upon him, a quiet reverence for this inexplicable sight. He paused, his flock grazing peacefully nearby, and slowly, deliberately, turned aside to investigate this miraculous phenomenon. As he drew closer, a voice, gentle yet resonant, called his name from the heart of the bush. "Moses, Moses!" His response was immediate and humble. "Here I am." The voice, emanating from the mountain silence, instructed him to remove his sandals, for the ground upon which he stood was holy. This was not a moment of fear, but of deep respect and profound recognition. The quiet voice revealed itself as the God of his fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Moses, in his humility, hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God. The mountain, usually a place of rugged solitude, was now imbued with a sacred stillness, a palpable presence that filled the air. The fire, though not burning, radiated a warmth that was both comforting and awe-inspiring. This was a moment of divine encounter, a quiet revelation in the heart of the wilderness. The world seemed to hold its breath, as if all of creation paused to witness this sacred exchange. The gentle breeze carried the quiet words, and the ancient stones of Horeb stood as silent witnesses. In this profound stillness, Moses received his calling, a divine commission to lead his people out of bondage. The quiet voice spoke of their suffering, of his intention to deliver them, and of the land flowing with milk and honey that awaited them. This was the turning point, the moment when the humble shepherd was called to become a deliverer, a leader of a nation. The burning bush, unconsumed, remained a symbol of God's enduring presence and his gentle, yet powerful, call. Moses, his heart filled with a mixture of awe and trepidation, listened intently, his spirit absorbing the weight and wonder of this sacred encounter. The mountain silence, once a source of peaceful solitude, now resonated with the profound echoes of a divine purpose, forever changing the course of his life and the destiny of his people. This was a moment of quiet transformation, a gentle awakening to a destiny far grander than he could have ever imagined, all under the watchful, silent gaze of the mountain of God. As the quiet voice from the burning bush unfolded its divine purpose, Moses, in his profound humility, responded with a gentle hesitation. This was not a defiance, but a thoughtful spirit grappling with the immense weight of such a calling. He presented his fears, not as weaknesses, but as honest reflections of a man deeply aware of his own limitations. He questioned his ability, his eloquence, and the likelihood that his people would believe him. "Who am I," he quietly asked, "that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" His voice was soft, filled with a genuine sense of inadequacy. He worried that the people would not listen, that they would ask for the name of the God who sent him, and he would have no answer. These were the gentle anxieties of a thoughtful spirit, a man who understood the immense responsibility being placed upon his shoulders. But the quiet voice from the bush offered reassurance, a gentle balm to his troubled heart. "I will be with you," it promised, a comforting presence in the face of daunting tasks. It revealed its sacred name, "I am who I am," a name that spoke of eternal presence and unwavering support. When Moses expressed his concern about his lack of eloquence, the divine voice gently reminded him, "Who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord?" And then, with tender understanding, it offered a solution. His brother Aaron, a man of fluent speech, would go with him and be his spokesman. This was a testament to God's gentle provision, his understanding of human frailty, and his willingness to work through imperfect vessels. Moses' fears were met not with rebuke, but with patient understanding and practical solutions. The reassurance he received was not a forceful command, but a quiet, steady promise of companionship and divine assistance. He was given a staff, a simple shepherd's tool, which would become a symbol of divine power, capable of performing wondrous signs. This sacred encounter, filled with quiet dialogue and gentle reassurance, transformed Moses from a hesitant shepherd into a divinely appointed messenger. His humility, far from being a hindrance, became a vessel for God's strength. He left the mountain not with a boastful stride, but with a quiet determination, his heart now fortified by the unwavering promise of a loving God. The desert wind, once a lonely companion, now seemed to whisper words of encouragement, carrying him forward on a path he had never imagined, yet one he was now ready to embrace with a quiet, steadfast faith. The mountain silence, which had witnessed his initial reluctance, now held the echoes of his gentle acceptance, a profound moment of surrender and trust. He was ready, not because he felt powerful, but because he knew he was not alone. With a quiet, steady determination, Moses began his journey back toward Egypt, the land he had fled so many years ago. His steps were measured, each one carrying the weight of his divine calling and the memories of a past life. The dusty roads stretched out before him, familiar yet now seen through the lens of a transformed spirit. The sun, a constant companion in the desert sky, cast long shadows as he walked, marking the passage of time. At night, flickering lanterns would illuminate his path, their gentle glow a comforting presence in the vast darkness. As he travelled, memories began to return, like soft echoes from a distant dream. He remembered the grand halls of the palace, the vibrant colours, the sounds of his youth. He recalled the faces of his Hebrew brethren, their weary eyes, their quiet suffering. These memories, once a source of pain and conflict, now fueled his resolve, strengthening his purpose. He was no longer a fugitive, but a messenger, carrying a message of hope and deliverance. His brother Aaron met him along the way, a joyful reunion in the quiet expanse of the wilderness. Together they continued their journey, their hearts united in a shared mission. The landscape slowly began to change, the stark beauty of the desert gradually giving way to the more fertile lands bordering the Nile. The air grew heavier, more humid, carrying the scent of rich earth and distant settlements. The sounds of human activity, once a source of apprehension, now signaled their approach to the land he once left behind. There was no rush, no frantic haste, but a slow, deliberate progression, each step a testament to his unwavering faith. He carried with him not weapons or armies, but a simple staff and the quiet power of a divine promise. The journey was a bridge between his past and his future, a gentle transition from the solitude of the shepherd to the leadership of a nation. He approached Egypt not with anger or vengeance, but with a calm resolve, his spirit anchored in the knowledge that he was merely an instrument in a greater divine plan. The land that had once threatened his life now awaited his return, unaware of the quiet revolution he carried within his heart. The dust of the road settled gently behind him, marking the path of a man walking towards his destiny, guided by a quiet, unwavering faith. Upon his arrival in Egypt, Moses, accompanied by his brother Aaron, calmly stood before Pharaoh. This was not a confrontation filled with shouting or anger, but a steady presentation of a divine message. Moses, with a quiet dignity, conveyed the words of the Lord, "Let my people go." His voice, though perhaps not naturally eloquent, carried the weight of truth and the authority of the divine. Pharaoh, accustomed to absolute power and surrounded by the opulence of his court, listened with a mixture of disdain and disbelief. He was a ruler who saw himself as a god, and the idea of yielding to the command of an unseen deity, delivered by a humble shepherd, was an affront to his immense pride. Yet Moses remained patient, his faith steady and unwavering. He did not engage in heated arguments or emotional pleas. Instead, he presented the divine request with a quiet resolve, a gentle persistence that spoke volumes. The atmosphere in the royal chambers was tense, yet Moses maintained a serene composure, his inner peace a stark contrast to the Pharaoh's growing irritation. He knew that the power he wielded was not his own, but came from a source far greater than any earthly king. This calm recounting of the divine will, delivered with courage and steady faith, was a testament to Moses' transformation. He was no longer the hesitant messenger, but a confident conduit for God's plan. The confrontation was not about human strength or political maneuvering, but about the quiet assertion of divine sovereignty over earthly power. Pharaoh's heart, hardened by years of unchallenged rule, resisted the gentle persuasion. He scoffed at the idea, refusing to acknowledge the God of the Hebrews. He even increased the burdens on the Israelite people, hoping to crush their spirit and their hope for freedom. But Moses, though faced with this immediate setback, did not falter. His faith remained a quiet anchor, holding firm against the rising tide of Pharaoh's stubbornness. He understood that this was part of a larger divine unfolding, a process that would require patience and unwavering trust. The voice before Pharaoh was not one of aggression, but of truth, delivered with a quiet strength that would ultimately prevail, not through human might, but through divine intervention. The air in the palace, though thick with tension, was also permeated by the quiet, unyielding presence of a God who would not be denied. As Pharaoh's heart remained hardened, a series of mysterious signs began to spread across the land of Egypt, unfolding in a soft, dreamlike manner. These were not violent, jarring events, but rather profound alterations to the natural order, designed to awaken wonder and contemplation rather than fear. Imagine the gentle flow of the Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt, slowly transforming. Its waters, usually clear and vibrant, began to take on a deep, rich crimson hue, like a vast, silent sunset reflected upon its surface. The fish, once abundant, floated gently to the surface, and the Egyptians found themselves unable to drink from their sacred river. This was a quiet, pervasive change, a subtle disruption to their daily lives, prompting a sense of unease rather than panic. Then, from the transformed waters, frogs emerged, not in a sudden, terrifying swarm, but in a gradual, almost ethereal wave. They appeared in homes, in beds, in ovens, their soft croaking a constant, gentle reminder of the unfolding signs. The atmosphere was one of pervasive wonder, a quiet acknowledgment that something extraordinary was happening, something beyond human control. Next, the dust of the earth, usually so mundane, transformed into tiny, biting gnats, a subtle irritation that permeated every corner of life. Following this, swarms of flies, not aggressive or loud, but persistent and numerous, filled the air, creating a soft, buzzing hum that was impossible to ignore. These were not signs of chaos, but of a quiet, insistent power at work, gently nudging the Egyptians towards understanding. A mysterious disease, a quiet pestilence, then settled upon the livestock, affecting horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, and sheep. The animals, once strong and vibrant, grew weak and still, their quiet suffering a poignant testament to the unfolding events. Then boils, like small, persistent embers, appeared on people and animals, a subtle discomfort that spread quietly through the population. Each sign was a gentle escalation, a soft whisper becoming a clear message, yet always maintaining a dreamlike quality, suitable for rest. The heavens themselves then participated in this unfolding narrative. A gentle hail, unlike any seen before, fell upon the land, mingled with fire that moved softly across the ground. It struck down plants and shattered trees. Yet in the land of Goshen, where the Israelites dwelled, there was no hail. This distinction was a quiet affirmation of divine protection. Following the hail, locusts, not in a terrifying onslaught, but in a vast, silent cloud, descended upon Egypt, consuming what little remained after the hail. Their soft rustling as they ate was the only sound, a gentle symphony of consumption. Finally, a profound darkness, thick and palpable, enveloped the land for 3 days. It was a darkness that could be felt, a quiet, all-encompassing embrace that brought all activity to a standstill. Yet, in the homes of the Israelites, there was light. Each of these signs, delivered with a quiet power, was a testament to the gentle yet firm hand of the divine, slowly, patiently, revealing his will. The storytelling remained peaceful, focusing on the atmosphere and wonder, inviting contemplation rather than alarm. These were not plagues of terror, but signs of profound mystery, designed to soften hearts and prepare the way for a quiet, momentous departure. The land of Egypt, once so proud and unyielding, was slowly, gently, being prepared for a transformation, all under the watchful, silent gaze of the heavens. As the final, most profound sign approached, a quiet anticipation settled over the Hebrew families in Egypt. This was not a time of frantic activity, but of hushed preparations, a sacred ritual performed with reverence and hope. Imagine the soft glow of candlelight flickering in humble homes, casting warm, dancing shadows on the walls. The air was filled with the subtle scent of roasting lamb, a special meal prepared according to divine instruction. Hushed conversations, soft and low, filled the rooms as families gathered together, sharing words of comfort and encouragement. Children, sensing the solemnity of the moment, moved with a quiet grace, their usual boisterousness replaced by a gentle wonder. Each family was instructed to select a lamb, without blemish, and to mark their doorposts with its blood. This act, simple yet profound, was a sign of protection, a quiet promise of deliverance. They were to eat the meal with unleavened bread and bitter herbs, symbols of their hasty departure and the bitterness of their bondage. Their loins were girded, their sandals on their feet, and their staff in hand, ready to leave at a moment's notice. This was not a preparation for battle, but for a journey, a quiet exodus into the unknown. Hopeful anticipation hung in the night air, a delicate balance between the solemnity of the moment and the joyous expectation of freedom. The sounds of the night were muted, as if the world itself held its breath. The distant cries of Egyptian mourning, a quiet sorrow, were a stark contrast to the quiet hope within the Hebrew homes. Moses, with a calm and steady presence, guided his people through these final preparations, his voice a soothing balm amidst the uncertainty. He reassured them, reminding them of God's promises, his words a gentle anchor in the gathering storm. This night, known as the Passover, was a moment of profound significance, a quiet turning point in their history. It was a night of divine intervention, where the hand of God would pass over their homes, sparing their firstborn, while bringing judgment upon Egypt. The quiet preparations, the hushed conversations, the flickering candlelight, all contributed to an atmosphere of sacred anticipation. It was a night of waiting, of trusting, and of preparing their hearts for the quiet miracle that was about to unfold. The air itself seemed to hum with a gentle energy, a silent promise of a new dawn, a new beginning, all under the watchful, silent gaze of the moonlit Egyptian sky. Then came the night of departure, a moment etched forever in the quiet annals of time. As the final, most profound sign swept across Egypt, a quiet urgency filled the air, yet among the Israelites it was met with a serene composure. Imagine the vast, dark expanse of the Red Sea, its waters stretching out under the pale moonlight, reflecting the shimmering stars above. The people, a multitude of families, moved slowly, deliberately, towards its shores, guided by Moses and the pillar of cloud that had led them. Fear, though a natural human emotion, was overshadowed by a profound sense of wonder and trust. As the Egyptian army pursued them, a quiet desperation might have stirred, but Moses, with a calm and steady heart, raised his staff over the waters, and then a majestic and calming image unfolded before their very eyes. The sea, with a gentle, almost imperceptible movement, began to part, not with a violent crash, but with a quiet, powerful separation, as if an unseen hand was drawing back a vast curtain. The waters stood up like walls on either side, shimmering and still, revealing a dry path across the seabed. The people, with a quiet awe, began to walk across. Their footsteps were soft, almost reverent, on the newly revealed ground. There was no panic, no frantic rush, but a slow, deliberate procession, each person moving with a deep sense of gratitude and trust. The moonlight illuminated their path, casting long, gentle shadows as they walked. The air was still, filled only with the soft sounds of their movement and the gentle lapping of the parted waters. This was a moment of profound silence, a testament to the miraculous power of God. Children, perhaps clutching their parents' hands, looked up at the towering walls of water with wide-eyed wonder, their fear replaced by a quiet fascination. The sea, which had once seemed an insurmountable barrier, now became a path to freedom, a bridge to a new beginning. The crossing was a journey of faith, a quiet act of surrender to the divine will. As the last of the Israelites reached the other side, and the pursuing Egyptian army entered the seabed, the waters, with a gentle, powerful roar, returned to their natural state, engulfing their pursuers. The sound was not one of triumph, but of a quiet, solemn finality. On the far shore, the people stood in silent awe, their hearts overflowing with gratitude. The cool desert winds, now carrying the scent of freedom, whispered through their hair. This was a moment of quiet deliverance, a profound act of salvation, all under the watchful, silent gaze of the moonlit sky. The sea, once a symbol of their entrapment, now became a monument to their liberation, a testament to the quiet power of a loving God. After their miraculous crossing, the people found themselves in the vast, open expanse of the wilderness, a place of both challenge and profound peace. As the initial exhilaration of their escape settled, a quiet weariness might have crept in, but it was soon replaced by a sense of profound gratitude and relief. Imagine the scene: gentle campfires flickering in the cool desert night, their warm glow casting soft light upon the faces of the weary travelers. The air was filled with the subtle scent of wood smoke and the crisp, clean aroma of the desert. Soft singing, hymns of praise and thanksgiving, rose gently into the night sky, carried on the cool desert winds. These were not boisterous celebrations, but quiet expressions of joy and relief, a communal sigh of contentment. Moses, after leading his people through such a momentous event, would often reflect quietly beneath the endless canopy of stars. He would sit by a dying campfire, his gaze fixed on the shimmering expanse above, pondering the magnitude of what had just transpired and the journey that still lay ahead. The desert, with its profound silence, offered a perfect backdrop for such contemplation. The stars, countless and brilliant, seemed to whisper ancient secrets, reminding him of the vastness of creation and the unwavering presence of the divine. The cool desert winds, a constant companion, gently rustled through the sparse vegetation, creating a natural lullaby. This was a time of rest and reflection, a moment to absorb the miracle of their deliverance and to prepare their hearts for the next phase of their journey. The people, gathered in their family groups, found comfort in each other's presence, their shared experience forging a deep and lasting bond. The sounds of the camp were muted, the soft murmurs of conversation, the gentle breathing of sleeping children, the occasional crackle of a dwindling fire. This was a peaceful interlude, a quiet moment of respite before the challenges of the wilderness truly began. The desert, once a place of exile for Moses, now became a sanctuary for his entire people, a place where they could begin to understand their new identity as a free nation. The songs beneath the desert stars were not just melodies, but prayers, expressions of a deep and abiding faith, echoing through the quiet vastness of the night. Each gentle note, each whispered word, contributed to an atmosphere of profound peace and hopeful anticipation, all under the watchful, silent gaze of the heavens. As the sun began its gentle ascent each morning, painting the desert sky with soft hues of rose and gold, a new and wondrous provision awaited the people of Israel. This was a time of peaceful mornings, a quiet routine that brought both sustenance and a profound sense of gratitude. Imagine the stillness of the camp at dawn, the air cool and crisp, before the heat of the day began to settle. As the people awoke, they would discover a delicate, flaky substance spread across the desert sands, like a gentle frost or dew. This was manna, bread from heaven, a miraculous provision sent by God to nourish his people in the wilderness. The appearance of manna was not a chaotic event, but a quiet, consistent miracle. Each morning it would be there, a gentle reminder of God's faithfulness. The people would gather it, their movements soft and unhurried, their hearts filled with a quiet wonder. The sound of their gathering was a gentle rustle, a soft murmur of appreciation. There was no need for frantic searching or anxious toil. The manna was simply there, a gift from above. They learned to gather just enough for the day, for any excess would spoil, teaching them a gentle lesson in trust and daily dependence. On the sixth day, they would gather a double portion, preparing for the Sabbath, a day of rest and quiet contemplation. The preparation of the manna was simple, often ground between stones or pounded in a mortar, then baked or boiled, tasting like wafers made with honey. The aroma of its preparation would gently waft through the camp, a comforting scent of provision. This daily miracle fostered a deep sense of gratitude among the people. They understood that their sustenance came directly from the hand of God, a loving Father who cared for their every need. The peaceful mornings, filled with the quiet gathering of manna, became a sacred ritual, a daily affirmation of their journey and their faith. The stillness of the camp, broken only by the soft sounds of gathering and preparation, created an atmosphere of profound peace. It was a time for reflection, for acknowledging the gentle hand that guided them through the wilderness. The manna, a symbol of divine care, nourished not only their bodies but also their spirits, teaching them patience, dependence, and the quiet joy of receiving daily blessings. Each sunrise brought with it this gentle gift, a quiet promise that they would not be forsaken, all under the watchful, silent gaze of the vast desert sky. As the journey through the wilderness continued, the people of Israel were led to the foot of Mount Sinai, a place destined for a profound and sacred encounter. Imagine the mountain, ancient and majestic, now covered in a thick, enveloping cloud. This was not a cloud of storm or darkness, but a cloud of sacred stillness, a visible manifestation of the divine presence. The air around the mountain was charged with a quiet reverence, a palpable sense of awe. The people were instructed to keep their distance, to purify themselves, and to prepare their hearts for a momentous revelation. On the third day, as the morning dawned, the mountain began to tremble gently. There were soft rumblings of thunder, not harsh and terrifying, but deep and resonant, echoing through the quiet valleys. Flashes of lightning, like silent illuminations, flickered within the cloud, revealing glimpses of its profound depth. The sound of a trumpet, long and sustained, grew louder and louder, yet it was a sound that filled the air with a sense of sacred majesty rather than alarm. Moses, with a calm and steady heart, ascended the mountain, entering the heart of the cloud. Here, in this sacred stillness, amidst the gentle thunder and silent lightning, God spoke. The giving of the commandments was not a moment of intense fear, but of profound reverence and peaceful reflection. The words, etched into tablets of stone, were delivered with a quiet authority, outlining a path for righteous living, a covenant of love and guidance. These were not burdensome rules, but gentle instructions for a people learning to live in freedom, a framework for a society built on justice and compassion. The mountain, once a rugged peak, was now transformed into a sacred altar, a place where heaven and earth met in a quiet, profound exchange. The people below, though unable to ascend, felt the weight and wonder of the moment, their hearts filled with a mixture of awe and humble acceptance. The experience was designed to instill a deep respect for God's holiness and a quiet understanding of His loving expectations. Moses remained on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, immersed in this divine communion, receiving further instructions and insights. The time passed with a quiet grace, his spirit absorbing the wisdom and presence of the divine. When he descended, his face glowed with a gentle radiance, a reflection of the glory he had witnessed. The mountain of clouds and thunder, though powerful, was ultimately a place of peace, a sanctuary where the divine heart was revealed, and a people were given the gentle guidance they needed to walk in His ways. The stillness, the gentle rumblings, the silent flashes, all contributed to an atmosphere of profound sacredness, a moment of quiet transformation for a nation. For 40 long years, the people of Israel journeyed through the vast, open expanse of the wilderness, a period of profound learning and gentle growth. This was not a hurried march, but a slow, deliberate pilgrimage, guided by the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. Imagine the changing landscapes they traversed, from arid plains to rocky canyons, from sparse oases to rolling hills, each new vista offering its own quiet beauty. The sun, a constant presence, warmed their days, and the cool desert nights brought a refreshing stillness. Their camps, set up each evening, became familiar havens. Gentle lessons of patience and trust unfolded with each passing day. They learned to rely on God's daily provision of manna and water, understanding that their needs would always be met. They learned to live in community, to support one another, and to resolve their differences with quiet understanding. Moses, with his unwavering patience and gentle wisdom, guided them through countless peaceful evenings. He listened to their concerns, mediated their disputes, and taught them the ways of the Lord. His presence was a steadying force, a calm anchor in the midst of their journey. The sounds of the camp at sunset were a symphony of peace, the soft murmurs of conversation, the gentle crackle of campfires, the distant bleating of sheep, and the quiet laughter of children. The stars, brilliant and countless, would emerge each night, a celestial tapestry reminding them of God's vastness and His constant watch over them. This long journey was a time of profound spiritual formation, a period where a generation was shaped, not by the comforts of settled life, but by the gentle discipline of the wilderness. They learned resilience, adaptability, and the deep joy of walking in dependence on their Creator. The challenges they faced, though sometimes difficult, were always met with divine provision, teaching them that even in the most desolate places, God's love and care were ever present. The changing seasons brought subtle shifts to their journey, each one a gentle reminder of the passage of time and the unfolding of God's plan. Moses, now an old man, walked among them, his heart filled with a quiet love for his people and an unwavering faith in the promises of God. He had seen them grow, stumble, and rise again, always with the gentle hand of God guiding their path. The wilderness, once a place of exile, had become their school, their sanctuary, and the crucible in which their identity as a nation was forged. Each quiet camp, each sunrise, each sunset, was a gentle step closer to the fulfillment of a divine promise, all under the watchful, silent gaze of the open sky. Finally, after 40 years of wandering, the long journey through the wilderness reached its gentle conclusion. Moses, now a very old man, yet with his eyes undimmed and his natural strength unabated, was led by God to the top of Mount Nebo. Imagine him standing there, high above the plains of Moab, the soft wind gently rustling his hair, carrying the scents of the distant lands. Before him, stretching out as far as his eyes could see, lay the promised land. It was a breathtaking vista, a land flowing with milk and honey, a place of verdant valleys, rolling hills, and shimmering rivers. He gazed quietly toward the distant horizon, his heart filled with a profound mixture of joy, peace, and perhaps a touch of gentle longing. He would not enter this land with his people, a consequence of a past moment of impatience, yet there was no bitterness in his heart, only a deep, abiding acceptance of God's will. The golden light of the setting sun bathed the landscape in a warm, ethereal glow, painting the sky with hues of orange, purple, and soft gold. The soft wind whispered ancient stories through the mountain peaks, carrying the echoes of a lifetime of faith and service. This was a moment of peaceful reflection on a life shaped by unwavering faith, quiet courage, and gentle endurance. He saw the generations he had led, the children who had grown into adults, the nation that had been forged in the crucible of the wilderness. He saw the fulfillment of God's promises, a testament to his faithfulness through all the trials and triumphs. His gaze lingered on the distant hills, knowing that his people would soon cross the Jordan River and claim their inheritance. His heart was full, not with regret, but with a deep sense of accomplishment and a quiet surrender to the divine plan. The journey had been long, filled with challenges and miracles, but through it all, God had been faithful. Moses, the humble shepherd, the reluctant messenger, the steadfast leader, now stood at the culmination of his earthly journey, his spirit at peace. The horizon, shimmering with the promise of a new day for his people, was a gentle farewell, a quiet benediction. He had led them to the very edge of their destiny, and now, with a quiet grace, he entrusted them to God's continued care. The soft wind, the golden horizon, and his peaceful reflection on a life well lived, all contributed to a profound sense of closure and serene contentment. His legacy was not just a land, but a people, a nation shaped by his gentle leadership and unwavering faith, all under the watchful, silent gaze of the eternal heavens. As the desert winds grow quiet, and the last whispers of our story gently fade into the stillness of the night, we invite you now to rest deeply. Let the images of ancient lands, of quiet journeys, and of unwavering faith settle softly in your mind. The story of Moses, a tale of gentle courage and divine guidance, has woven its peaceful tapestry around you, inviting your spirit to find its own quiet harbor. Release any lingering thoughts, any small worries, and allow yourself to drift into a profound and restorative sleep. The stars above continue their silent watch, and the world outside is hushed, embracing the tranquility of this moment. May your dreams be filled with peace, and may you awaken refreshed, renewed, and ready for a new day. Good night, and rest well. God bless you and your loved ones.